the donkey means only one thing. Well, no, it doesn't because I use it for the wrestling stuff. Well, that ruins that idea. Quick, switch scenes and maybe people won't notice. Oh wait, I ain't got the window sorted properly. There you go. Boom. Why is it formatted like that? Thank you. It's all gone wrong. Normally we appear in a line. Tonight we are not appearing in a line. Brilliant.
God, we look more like a Zoom call right now, and I can assure you we're
Yes.
not on Zoom.
I swear. Well, one, no, and secondly, that means right. We're editing this on the fly. Trying to work out everything.
This is why you're in charge of this, and I'm not.
Yeah.
Editing and me.
We have to keep the donkey, Dada. The donkey is the ambassador. There we go. Right. Well, I think we've started.
Yeah, we have. So it is August 2020, and I don't want to talk about the world, so we're going to talk about the award season instead.
Pretty much.
So let's get started here. This is obviously when we generally start our awards coverage for the 2021 Academy Awards season. Well, I have no idea where that's going to go right now. So until we get a little bit more of an idea where we're headed, we decided we wanted to go back in time a little bit. And AJ came up with an idea that was going to be able to get me to check a little bit more off my list of things I've seen and to watch the 6 Best Picture nominees that I have yet to watch. Because if you remember, going back to that award season, that I did not watch anything except for Bohemian Rhapsody and A Star is Born. As of today, I can officially say I've seen everything nominated for Best Picture, and I'm going to give my thoughts. A lot of hot takes in this lineup, I won't lie about that. You may not like me by the time this is over. Yes, this is a cold open. Welcome to Popcast Network Awards Coverage 2021. My name is Owen. Joining me as always, we have Ashley.
How do you do?
And we have AJ.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to ask, do you mean hot takes or bad takes?
It depends on how you look at it.
Both. I demand both.
Well, you may remember, from the sounds of it, from what little I've heard from you already, you don't sound overly pleased. But the thing about it was that I don't know if you remembered this going into it or not, but this was one of the more not so well liked Best Picture lineups we've had for a little while.
Even more in hindsight of the events of the past 6 months, even more so. The amount of articles that are like, was Green Book really that good?
I'm not going to say yes or no to that, but it's one I just literally finished 5 minutes ago.
But, when it was, I've seen so many articles linking it with, like, The Help, Driving Miss Daisy, to some extent Selma, because Anna DuVernay was very vocal about, who was it that distributed that? I can't think off the top of my head.
Was it
well, Ashley, to be fair, the only movie I liked of the lineup you just rattled off is Driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah, but it's the same. It's the same sort of the white savior thing and how it's been portrayed over the last few decades.
But at the same time, people hate the Green Book win for the most part. But obviously, if Green Book didn't win, it was abundantly clear Roma would have.
Mm-hmm.
If Roma had won, would we have had Parasite success?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think Parasite was strong enough on its own that it was going to break barriers regardless if Roma did anything or not.
No detractors goes very far.
Parasite was just a warning for what was to happen 12 months later.
So, real quick before we get started, we of course, not surprisingly at all, Brian is in chat again. So, welcome back, Bry Guy, to awards coverage again. He says we're back, but Owen says I'm not welcome here because when I showed him my Best Picture rankings from this past Oscars, you can feel free to put that in chat because AJ hasn't seen it yet. So yeah, do that. Bry Guy also says the return of Donkey with headphones, but what will the new meme be for 2021 awards season?
We've got to wait to see what
We
happens.
haven't got it yet. Haven't got it yet.
The current meme is Parasite is going to be Best Picture for 14 months.
Maybe.
Well, no, because Best Picture isn't getting awarded till the end of April. It's got 2 extra months to be the Best Picture.
Assuming we do have a winner in April and they don't make the drastic choice to combine the years like they did the very first year in 1927.
Oh, that'd be confusing.
Which I had heard was thrown around, but I if they're going to go that route or not.
So it's interesting that we're doing awards coverage, and I'm sure you guys and girls out there that are following the network in general and not just awards coverage on here. I know you guys come back for awards season. We really appreciate it. I know you're not necessarily watching all the content on the network, and we get that completely. We're not for everyone. But the thing about it is that we are like shoot 2 weeks behind on coverage right now on content. I'll be honest with you, there's really not much that's going on, so I may end up being able to just stress now that for some reason Ashley's camera just keeps...
I'm trying to get a better sort of zoom, so if I do come in, I sort of fit, but then also I can sit back and be still somewhat in frame rather than, you know...
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, I get you on this one. So, AJ, this is for you. Bry Guy's lineup for the Oscars last year for Best Picture was number 9 was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Number 8 was 1917. 7 was Parasite. 6 was Marriage Story. 5 was Joker. 4 is The Irishman. 3 is Ford versus Ferrari. 2 is Little Women, and 1 is Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, I don't like to dictate other people's rankings or lists. I like to think I made that pretty clear. Like a ranking or a list is absolutely your own thing, and nobody should tell you otherwise. Having said that, that is all fucked up. Those are all those are in all the wrong places.
Yeah, welcome back, Cassie. Bry Guy says I considered Parasite, 1917, and Hollywood overrated. You're right about one of those.
I mean, I get that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is not going to be like everybody's thing.
Right.
And it certainly wasn't the most praised Tarantino movie, even though it's probably his second best. Yeah, second best probably to me. But as I'm wearing one of his shorts right now, which was an accident, but
your case, I'm positive it was an accident.
I was wearing
it on purpose.
I was wearing the Toy Story 4 shirt for the Versus we shot earlier this morning, but I changed it because it was like I'm pretty sure that's the shirt I was wearing the last awards podcast we did, Oscar night. So I didn't want to look like I didn't change my clothes for 6 months.
I mean, you don't have the 500 o'clock shadow, so obviously you're not in a state of that right now, so you're good to go.
It's almost there, but yeah.
I mean, you don't look like your brother, so you're good to go. I'm nicely shaved. It's great. I'm actually in a group now with the fact that my razor actually is solid for a change. That I look like I don't have any facial hair, and I like that a lot. So yeah, here's basically what we did. Was we've been trying to come up with new content for the network. We got some really cool stuff coming the next couple of months from AJ's mind, and it's going to be some really cool stuff, and I'm really looking forward to that. Some things we've done in the past that is going to be continuing, even though my life as I know it for the next 2 months is not going to be normally continuing because we're not going to do what I normally do. Thanks, Steve Carino. Thing is, I will look at this from the perspective of the fact that we are doing something a little different today. So generally this would be when we were going to start our Big 8. Well, it's going to take a little bit. So in the meantime, as I know we are 2 weeks behind on content and I try to do daily videos, We may see the return of not necessarily doing daily videos, but I haven't quite decided that yet. I guess we'll see where we go with that. Right Guy says, I was surprised. I love Little Women for a person who didn't like Lady Bird, and yes, Greta should have been a director, but Mangold would be number one for me.
Interesting.
Very
Yeah, Jojo Rabbit at 1.
Yeah.
I can get. I mean, I had it much lower in regards to ranking the picture nominees, but I can live with that. That's.
I think for me, it was difficult because, like, I think by the end of the time, it was going to be JoJo and Parasite battling for 2, and I didn't know which. I didn't remember where I actually put it at this point, because I know Hollywood was like head and shoulders above everything else, and I love JoJo, but I also love Parasite, so it could go either way. Like the ranking, I'll potentially be able to do at the end of this video, which it's going to be some interesting times in the next little bit. So let me basically tell you right now what AJ came up with. The fact that I was pretty much completely in the dark for the 2018 movies for good reason, and the 2019 Best Picture race because of the fact that I only got to see 2 of the nominated films, something I haven't done for several years. So because of that, AJ thought it'd be a good idea for me to finally go back and watch the 6 movies I missed. I had a week to do it. You know how I am when it comes to trying to do a deadline. I basically have the Kevin Smith writer's lays we talk about all the time, the fact that I want to be entertained and I don't want to entertain people. So I get bored and I'd rather be watching like the Major Wrestling Figure podcast on YouTube or listening to various other things like roller coaster specials instead of just doing videos for the network, because that's where we are now in life. So because of that, I kind of waited to the very last minute, and I would have been able to finish a little bit earlier today if Black Panther didn't knock me out last night, literally and figuratively. We'll get to that later. So that being said, as always, this is just my opinions and my opinions only. You may agree, you may not agree. Same with Ashley's opinion, same with AJ's opinion. We do differ on things. We do also agree on things. It just depends on the circumstances. But yeah, that's basically what we did. I went in and I watched all the films, and I have no notes in front of me. The only thing I have in front of me right now is you can see the visuals a little different because I put the laptop on my desk. So it's right next to the computer monitor. So when I'm looking to the side, looking at the chat, that's what I'm looking at right now. And also I have the 91st Academy Awards up just to see if there's anything we can go with that direction. Plus, for those of you that are live right now, or those of you listening in archive, I would appreciate the fact that if you do have any ideas for any content you wouldn't mind seeing us do on this network when it comes to movie award content, please let us know. Like, there's some things that I have yet to watch Toy Story 4. I've yet to watch Ralph Breaks the Internet. There's like a lot of the animated films I have not seen from this year we're talking about. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll go into the shorts or anything like that, because sometimes I can find real gems and sometimes I can find real garbage. It really depends. And we'll see where we're going. So if you guys have any ideas, then please let us know in chat or let us know in the comment section. So that being said, AJ, you basically started with this, so I want you to take the reins here and just throw out the first film, and I will do the best I can.
Should we go in a particular order or just at random? I figure it'd be appropriate to end on Green Book.
Well,
So-
I can tell you real quick before we get started that the order I watched these was I watched Black Klansman and Vice on the same day, and then I gotta remember my lines up here. I'm so tired. Sorry, it's been a long day. It really has. And I watched Roma, and then I watched Black Panther, and then I finished today with The Favorite and Green Book. And I have yet to revisit A Star Is Born and Bohemian Rhapsody, but I have seen them since. So they're not extremely fresh in my mind, but they're there. So we can definitely go there. Before we get started, also more at Brian Guy asked if AJ, or do you think about planning a Blu-ray collection video?
Well, I would say why not, but there's a whole YouTube Blu-ray community that is that is the most try-hard, cringy people possibly on the internet, and that's a high bar. I don't really discriminate in regards to how like. I'm still a person that has a fast VHS collection, and I think, and I haven't gone to 4K yet because I think it's overkill. I don't know how well that would sit. Like, I don't know what all I would be expected to go into talking about like that. But it's something we can throw around.
All right. So we'll put that potentially.
I can see my whole Blu-ray collection from here, and then the Criterions are over there, and it's not like massive. But I'm a bit more picky about. Well, not so lately. Like the new releases, I've started just getting on Blu-ray just because. But as far as like going back, I don't just like. I'm not like trading everything out for Blu-ray immediately or anything.
That's a lot of money to spend too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and most of these are like 50 cent to $1 flea market purchases, and some Blu-rays are laying around in those places. But of course, I haven't been to one of those places this year, nor do I plan on it because I'm sure they're a fucking cesspool. But but yeah, we'll kick something around like that, probably.
And without going any further into it, we got some new segments coming to the channel. We've also have the return of our horror-themed verses for the months of Halloween Horror Nights, regardless if the event is not happening or not. We're still doing everything like we normally do in the months of September and October. So looking forward to that. So if you like movie content on this network, there's a lot more coming that way. So we officially started the season, even though we haven't started the season, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, there's maybe 4 days. There's maybe 4 days in October that aren't predetermined on what's going to be there. So October is pretty much done.
Very good. Very good. So yes, AJ, you feel free to start us off. If you want to go with the order that I watch them in, you can. Now, granted, you guys know out there I'm not good when it comes to reviewing things. I kind of need to be prodded a little bit like an interview segment. So
from the little bit we talked about it, you seem to like it pretty well. So let's start with the movie that I rank last for these 8.
Okay.
I still like it, but my least favorite of these 8 is Vice.
Oh shit!
So,
he said it's like it's like bloody, it's like Pee Wee's Hay House. He said the magic word. Scene transition. Hot damn! Hot damn!
The very first thing I said when he called me to tell me he had watched Vice, and the very first thing I said was, "So you've seen Hot Damn in context now?"
I have seen Hot Damn in context now. Everyone knows, if they've been following us for a long time, is the fact that I really enjoy political movies. I don't give a damn about politics, but I do like political movies. I always have. Same with sports. I hate sports, but I like sports movies. Go figure. I like the style of the movie. I like the way that it flowed. It felt like a documentary. I think that's one thing I noticed immediately. I definitely got the Big Short connection right away with like the text on the screen basically telling us what we're about to see. I like the transitions. I like the music they chose. I like the way everything worked. And Christian Bale is just, dear God, just such a phenomenal performances. I mean, I cannot see Dick Cheney anymore without hearing Bale's voice. Just like you said, the same thing to me on the phone, AJ. It was, as Smurfy Boy says, I don't understand where Vice was trying to go. I think at this point, like I said, it felt like a documentary on Dick Cheney's life. That's exactly what it felt like.
But is it a good thing if it felt like it's a movie? I mean, no. Separate. It's a narrative movie.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we throw Hot Damn around a lot here, but at the end of the day, Rockwell did not have nearly as much screen time as I thought he should have had or would have had based on the context.
Yeah,
I know it's a movie about Dick Cheney. I know it's not That's My Bush on Comedy Central, but the thing about it is, when it comes to, I brought that reference up. But the thing about it is the fact that you don't have Dick Cheney without George W. Bush, and you have George H.W. Bush, where of course you have a nice little cameo there. But the thing is, I understand what's about Cheney, but Bush has to be involved as well. And I thought they kind of missed the mark a little bit by not giving Rockwell more screen time. Especially if you put over Hot Damn like it was the second coming of Slumdog Millionaire every single time. I felt like there should have been more. But the funny thing is, I don't know if you see this, AJ, or not, and it's going to give me a lot of heat starting away, so you might as well just light the fire right now. The Hot Damn reminded me of how Will Ferrell would play that role.
Yeah, there were a lot of critics of Vice said that it felt like the whole movie felt like an SNL sketch.
Very much so, and I don't think that's a bad thing. In my way of thinking, it's not a bad thing. Bry Guy says, from a person who didn't like The Big Short, this was a movie I did enjoy. Bale, Adams, and McKay. Also, Vice has my least Adams performance. That's a thankless role. If she weren't in it, nothing about the movie would change. That's what Smurfy Boy said. I liked Amy Adams in the movie. I like her a lot. Again, I mean, I see what her purpose was. I see what her point was. But the thing is, yeah, I do see where you're coming from. Honestly, it's just something that if she wasn't there, there's not much that would change about the narrative of the story at all. But I like her presence in the movie. I really do. And then if you look at the lineup of Best Supporting Actress, I mean, I really think that now I haven't seen 4 of those performances. Sorry, Regina King, I never got to the movie because your movie never got anything further than some acting nominations. The thing is, I would say right now that I liked her performance, and if I had to pick one, I wouldn't have given it to Adams, of course. I mean, I would have definitely went for someone from The Favorite, but we'll talk about that later. The thing is, it was a solid performance for what it was. I wish more could have been done with it, but yeah, I mean, Vice was a movie that I was excited about watching because everybody obviously jumps on me about American Hustle and the fact that it's a movie that obviously not the same type of movie, but the same, I guess, the kind of movie based upon what people were saying about Vice. I felt like it would be something that I would gravitate towards. And maybe I didn't as much as people thought I would. Yeah, I think overall I did enjoy it. Spoiler alert, there's nothing I hated. So there's not any, like, I will shoot on this movie about how garbage it is. There's no Dracula Untold here.
What about the ending?
Are you talking about the Jesse Plemons reveal or the very ending?
Yeah, the sort of like the cut in the credits to the sort of focus group.
Oh yeah.
I loved how they basically, as a projectionist, I love the fact that they went for a fake out ending like less than a third into the movie with the credits rolling and everything. I love the way they did that. I thought it was great. And it was unique because it's not something I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Not since Man on the Moon, probably. Or the SpongeBob movie, the second one. Did it?
That's true.
Did you see the real mid-credits scene?
I don't know if I did.
When it went back to the focus group and they started fighting.
Oh yeah, I did actually.
Well, a lot of people found that to be a little on the nose. But
yeah, that was the bit where I was like, that was the bit that when I managed to see it at the early preview that Odeon did for it. You know, people enjoyed it, but a lot of people felt that the post-credit sort of focus group fight thing went a little too far into sort of like. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything. One, because I haven't seen it, but 2, I've heard the other reviews. It doesn't go full American Pickle. It doesn't try and go too sort of out there.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people didn't like, not just that post-credit scene, but a lot of people didn't like Vice in general because they thought Adam McKay was basically angrily saying everybody's an idiot, and that put a lot of people off.
I mean, it's not pro anybody, really. I mean, it's definitely just giving you a chance to make your choice if you like Dick Cheney or not. I mean, you hear all the pertinent information, and I like that. One thing I also say is, why did it take Adam McKay to be the first person that cast Tyler Perry as Colin Powell? I like that too. I like the way that rolled as well.
But he's also like I remember him being on some of his name was on some of the advertisements, but he's in it for what, 2 minutes?
Less than that. I mean, he's got literally 2 scenes. You basically find him at one time, and then you see him and that's it. So real quick, Brad Guy says, let's see, I would say number 2 for film editing, nominated for score, makeup, I can't say because I haven't seen Border or Mary Queen of Scots. Smurfy Boy says, speaking of American Hustle, it's my second least favorite Adams performance. Her British accent was terrible because she was playing a con artist. I get a lot of heat for liking American Hustle. I don't care. I'm not going on that hill again.
Yeah, we were talking about Adams when you called, and it was like, it's still one of those cases of, even if it is a nothing role, not that would ever stop this.
Yes.
You would still think, like, I remember a time in that season, I was so convinced Adams was going to sweep. Like,
yeah, I remember that. I definitely remember that.
It's because it's so baiting while she's just kind of there. But then it's like when she literally lost everything. Because obviously the rightful winner got SAG. And because King kept disappearing.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with Brian on this one. I like Steve Carell in this a lot.
You didn't find it... Did you find it at all distracting that he didn't change his voice at all? And I think the reason... Like, normally I wouldn't pay too much attention to that, but the reason I call that out is because the first time Rumsfeld is even in the movie, the first thing we hear is just his voice. So...
Well, the thing about his character, the fact that he didn't change his voice, I mean, to me, it kind of felt like it was Brick Tamlin as Donald Rumsfeld. That's the voice I get when I hear Carell's voice. Now,
I almost feel like those were even the same glasses.
They very well could have been. But I did enjoy it. I did. I mean, there's a lot of things I didn't enjoy about things. We'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, I've already spent a little bit of time on Vice. I'm kind of surprised I spent this much time on it. But yeah. No, I mean, honestly, because I'm not good with doing reviews. I never have been. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just trying my best. Smurfy Boy says, love American Hustle as well, but out of Bale, Lawrence, and Cooper, Adams had my least favorite performance. Why was the narrator the dude who died in the car accident? His heart was given to Cheney. And you had to do somebody to tell. You had to have someone have a Mickey and Mallory to tell the story.
Wasn't Clemens kind of... I mean, he has, like, one name in the credits, but wasn't he supposed to kind of just be representative of, like, a bunch of different people? Like, a bunch of different kinds of people? Like, the normal kind of people?
Basically.
Where, like, we see him, like, in his home just being a normal person, and then we see him, like, in war and all that, and then it's... And I don't know if you want to take the allegory of the deaths Cheney, people will say, is responsible for, so he was, like, the everyman, and then he had to die for Cheney. I don't know if that's what he was going for, but...
It kind of seems like that might have been the direction, at least loosely, they were going with. I understand how it was just some random person in the story, obviously, that was telling the entire story. I think that makes sense, that you have to have a narrator in this circumstance. So it's got to just be somebody random, but not random, because he basically gave it away at the beginning to use context clues.
I feel like it's important to say, but we probably should have started with this. Because we're talking about Vice, and we're going to eventually get the Black Lantern. Obviously, anything that's brought up politically is strictly stating things about the movie, and there's no opinions being stated one way or the other.
This was my response to everyone. That's all I need to say to you right now.
And talking about, like, potential different interpretations, no opinions politically are being said.
There's a shit ton of opinions in the films, but... Yes,
Adam McKay has some very strong opinions for everybody, apparently. And while we're on the topic real quick, I actually was talking to a friend recently who loathes American Hustle to its very core. And that conversation, this was probably a month and a half ago, spawned a curious rewatch from me of American Hustle just to see what it was like now, because I don't think I had seen it since 2013. I personally still think it's fine. I don't know what the fuck Bradley Cooper is doing in it, but there's...
We'll talk about him later, don't worry.
And I keep forgetting one's an Adam McKay movie and one's a David O. Russell movie. They're just blending together now. And isn't Jennifer Lawrence getting ready to do an Adam McKay movie? So it's going to get even more confusing.
Oh,
So,
I'm trying to remember. Hang on. Let's do the old Wikipedia thing of clicking on Amy Adams because she was in American Hustle, and then we find out that way.
So, Smurfy Boy says Rockwell getting the supporting actor nomination over Timothy Chalamet was bizarre.
Yeah, now that's what I was telling you. It's weird because I love Rockwell's scenes.
Same.
Like when I watch the movie, I wait for those, which would usually translate to that performance is nomination worthy. If it's a performance, you wait. But it's not so much the performance; it's the scenes. The scenes between him and Channing are great. Yeah, and great I love the sort of double meaning stuff going on when they're having the meeting when he's like eating the chicken, where it's like we see Chaney like laughing at him, but we know that's the symbolic shot of what Chaney's thinking inside.
Right.
But you would think that would translate to the performance as nomination worthy, but really, it's such a weird. I know I said this a lot during the actual season, but God, that's a weird fucking nomination. And
it really is.
A lot of it's probably Afterglow because he had just won for 3 billboards, but it's a weird nomination. And yeah, Chalamet's name was all over that spot, so I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah, Bright Guy says, there's one thing about Rockwell, he gave us our meme for the 2019 award season. Yeah. So I think that's
I noticed when you go to YouTube now, you'll notice that if you hover the cursor over a thumbnail, it kind of plays like a couple of seconds of the video. So you can see what it looks like.
Yeah.
When I think it was our last podcast video was on my front page and my cursor went over it, and the only thing I saw it play was the hot damn gif where the hot damn comes up and
there's literally a TV spot which is called the hot damn trailer.
That's amazing. I didn't know about that.
That's amazing. I enjoy that.
Well, I was looking for images because, as you can see from those of you watching, the best I could find in terms of like a good size one was the German one. So it's Weiss the Weitermann.
It looks like a DVD case that I put on the shelves at Hollywood Video.
Probably something like that, yeah.
Actually, it kind of looks a little bit like the Sports Night DVD case.
So the only pre-production that the untitled David O. Russell project that unsurprisingly is being written and directed by David O. Russell, who knew. The names attached to it are Bale, Michael B. Jordan, and Margot Robbie. So now I need to go back to American Hustle to get Jennifer Lawrence's IMDb thing. The last thing I remember that she's doing is is it Theranos or something? The documentary was on HBO.
That's why we have notes.
No, but the documentary was on HBO a few years back about the woman that lied about the drugs or whatever. Elizabeth something. And supposedly they're doing a film based on that. But the films had like 2 or 3 different renames.
35 minutes on Vice. Think about that right now. This may not be a short show, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go. Elizabeth Holmes.
Actually, it might be.
I double checked. Elizabeth Holmes. That's the new Adam
The,
McKay.
the
Okay.
question we had. The question we had was we were talking about the ones that you hadn't seen, those 6.
Yes.
Our question that we never really answered ourselves on was, are we going to retouch on Star Wars: Bohemian Rhapsody also? I mean, I guess it would feel more well-rounded if we did briefly.
I guess, but it's going to be difficult because, again, it's been a minute since I've seen both of them, so.
Yeah, because if you just want to kind of flow into those for maybe just a minute or two. I also have not watched them since that award season.
Mm.
But I do think, remember how I was really passionate about Rami Malek?
Yes.
And he was my number one in actor that year.
Yes.
I still greatly appreciate that performance. And people made way too big a deal out of the whole, it's not entirely him singing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the lip syncing is obvious, to say the least. But as much as I do love that performance still, if we were to redo those lineups, I would probably have Rami Malek down to 2, and I would replace him with who was my number 2, who was John Cho in Search. So I do still love that performance, and it is a case of what the hell were we just talking about? Oh, it was something that was in my head. We weren't saying it out loud. I was thinking of Joker when we were talking about Bry Guy's ranking.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to say that I had Joker at number 3, I think.
Right.
And I was really passionate about it, but a lot of that had to do with the last half hour and how strong it is and the impression that leaves. Which is what a lot of people say is how Bohemian Rhapsody basically got a Best Picture nomination because of Live Aid. Like, because you leave on that note. And I don't know that I'm as crazy about Joker now as I was, say, 6 months ago. And maybe it was the last half hour that was speaking for the whole movie for me.
Right.
I'm curious if I watched Bohemian Rhapsody now, if that would happen. Because I love so much the music scenes in Bohemian Rhapsody, particularly when they're building the music.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I said, any movie that does that, like Hustle and Flow, like those are the best scenes in those kind of movies. And most of Bohemian Rhapsody is that. And a lot of people complained about that they kind of used the music as a crutch. But I think that's what made it great, was watching them build the music from the ground up. And I know the historical inaccuracies really drove people insane, but it's a movie, it's not a documentary. How many times do we have to fucking see?
Well, it's funny you mention that, because I brought this up with someone the other day. I was actually just chatting with a couple coworkers, and one of the things that we brought up was talking about this mission and everything in the award season that year. So what we're discussing right now, and Bohemian Rhapsody came up, and it's kind of like wanting to see what would have happened if Chris Farley would have played Shrek. I still want to know what would have happened if Sacha Baron Cohen would have played Freddie Mercury. Like, would we have had that same style performance? Would we have the same critical acclaim? Would we have the same runaway Best Actor? I mean, we'll never know those answers nowadays.
Well, we know for sure by what Cohen said that it would have been a totally different movie.
Completely.
So that's really hard to say.
Bry Guy says, Bohemian Rhapsody, honestly, Malik is the weakest of the entire movie and was my least favorite of the Best Actor nominees. It's my 3rd for Best Picture. Can't say anything about it.
Is that 3rd from the top or 3rd from the bottom?
I'm just reading what it says in chat. Number 3 for Best Picture. I'm going to guess that means number 3 as in from the top. I can't say anything about Willem Dafoe. Everyone knows my opinion on Willem Dafoe because of certain things in his past. Other than that, that's the only performance I can't talk about with Best Actor.
That was just an inspired nom, and I'll try to avoid going on a tangent about his snow for the White House. His nom for At Eternity's Gate was really inspired on board, and I'm really glad they won.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Ethan Hawke was blatantly missing. But, that happened.
Let's see. Bry Guy says, for A Star Is Born, I've seen the original and the first 2 remakes before I saw Cooper's remake. It's not as good as the original, but it's the best remake of the three.
I kind of get a guilty pleasure out of the Chris Christopherson one a little bit.
That's the one I grew up on when I was a kid, so I mean, I understand that one.
I haven't seen the Garland James Mason one in a long time, but I'd like to revisit it. But yeah, Star Wars Born is another one of those ones where I've kind of heard a lot of not what no, it was a punchline quite a bit. Like there was a lot of jokes about how it was absolutely a vanity project for Cooper and stuff like that. There were a lot of parody videos about how he probably directed it.
Like
what was that?
Like the Ben Stiller as Bruce Springsteen stuff from the MTV Video Musical Movie Awards back in the day. Can't forget that. So yeah, at the end of the day, I love Bohemian Rhapsody, and I think, to be honest, if you had to rank my top on this, it definitely is number 2 for sure. It was my number 1 until this week happened. We'll get to that a little bit later. Malik's performance is phenomenal. I just love everything about Bohemian Rhapsody. Live Aid does make the movie like at the end of the film. I was sitting in the Fork and Screen auditorium in AMC, and I remember finishing my food, and I was like sitting in the chair like this, just watching it intently. So I guess that would transition us to A Star Is Born as well. The difference between Cooper's version and the others is it focuses on the male character instead of the other versions. That's what Smurfy Boy said.
Yeah.
I'll say this, and I can say this now because I can't really because I didn't see Glenn Close or Melissa McCarthy, but I'm a little biased, obviously. When it comes down to it, yeah, I still think that Lady Gaga should have done a lot better in the award season. I like the role. I like the role a lot, and it deservingly got him a lot of things that it should have gotten, but not things that it didn't get. The things it didn't get are kind of glaring omissions here.
All right, so you don't have to say anything about the favorite yet until we get there. But while we're on the topic of Best Actress, where do you think Coleman belongs? Should she be in there, or should she be with her co-stars?
Well, the thing is, though, going back to the season, I really can't think of anybody else to put in that spot. So, I mean, I would say right now that I don't remember the lineups back in the day, all the stuff we talked about and everything. That's all gone. Thing is, I mean, to me, just looking at the list right now, she'd be number 2.
I know a lot of people were talking about Stone as more of a lead than Coleman.
Oh, absolutely. We'll talk about that later. I'm talking about the 5 that were actually nominated. If you had to pick, I had to pick and choose, I would easily say that Coleman is my number 2, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's see. Bright Guy says, Cooper is my number 1 for actor. Deserved Best Original Song for Shallow. Number 4 for actress. 2 for supporting actor. Rockwell should have been 3 for Vice and 2 for adapted. Smurfy Boy says, saw the Garland version and she was robbed of Best Actress. There's a scene where she puts on a one-woman show. I think Shallow kind of over pretty much the performance of the, like, Shallow by itself has completely elapsed the movie at this point as how popular Shallow has become. The chemistry between Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga is uncanny, and it just works so well. So, but the song is what everybody takes from it, and still to this day is what people take from it. And that performance is just unbelievable.
Which is kind of nice because it was nice to have like it felt sort of, I mean, obviously Let It Go did this, of course, also, but
yeah, of course.
I feel like way back in the day, it used to be common that whatever won for song was a massive song.
Oh, yeah, totally.
If you look at stuff like City of Stars is probably one of the most forgettable song winners in the Academy's history, maybe.
It's again, I love City of Stars. Everyone knows how much I love the rightful Best Picture winner, La La Land. But the thing about it is, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, it's not a song that I would have nominated to win. It's the one that should not have won. Obviously, there's a lot better songs than City of Stars.
That was so like that whole City of Stars win line felt so fabricated from beginning to end. Like it was chosen before the movie even came out. This will be our winning song, and then it just kind of did that. And it's like, really, it's like one of the most underwhelming songs of that whole movie.
I like City of Stars, don't get me wrong, but there's so many more songs that I would have nominated before. Could you imagine if they would have done a show-stopping performance of Another Day of Sun?
Yeah.
That would have been great for the Oscar stage, absolutely.
Or someone in the crowd. Some of the more sort of upbeat
Someone in the crowd
ones.
would have been great too. Someone in the crowd literally done in the around the auditorium and around the venue would have been phenomenal.
Question though, would they have actually brought a fucking pool in? Because that's
I guarantee you they would have.
yeah, because
They needed the ratings.
Yeah.
They'd have found some way to do it.
Another Day of Sun was covered by the Globes.
Yep.
Wasn't that like their opener?
Oh, that was freaking amazing too. And yeah, Bry Guy, John Legend. So good. So good in the movie. Audition was better than City of Stars. Yeah, I agree with that. Overall, as a performance.
Audition was less made for a song nomination and more as this is why Emma Stone.
Absolutely. So yeah, we've gone over the two films that Stars Born obviously is going to be higher on the list for me as well because I really enjoyed the movie, even though I may have kind of kicked it a little bit while it was down. But not really, because I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it more than some of the things that I watched this week. So there's that.
All right. I feel like talking about Stone should transition us to the favorite.
Okay.
But I'm like, am I going to have to fight you over Black Panther? Because you know how much I fucking love Black Panther. And you did not seem pleased with it.
Which way are we
So
going?
should we go there?
I need to know which image.
You want to just go ahead and just kill me now and get it over with?
Because I feel like I've talked about Black Panther about 20 fucking times in 20 different videos. Because I did the regular review of it. We talked about it a lot during awards season. It made my top 10. Me and my brother did an MCU video. All of those we discussed Black Panther.
I know.
I don't know what else I have left to say, but I'm very curious.
No, you're not. You don't want to know what I have to say.
Oh, please, go ahead. By all means. No pressure.
Oh, God. Stormy Boy says, I'll Never Love Again feels more like the typical Oscar winner for original song.
Yeah.
For the sound of it, absolutely. Okay. As I see Ashley just put the graphic in front of me.
That's what I was waiting. I was like, am I putting the favorite graphic
Stop
up?
staring at me, Bozeman. I'm going to talk about your movie.
Well,
Okay.
before you say anything, remember, it was, I'm sure it still is, it was very, very popular, especially after the nominations came out, to say that Black Panther was overrated. So you've got a large group of people that probably agree with you, but let's see if you're as wrong as they are.
The issue you have,
I don't know
Owen,
why I'm even...
the issue you have, Owen, is the greeting from Black Panther is now what everybody has to do because of the pandemic. The elbow thing. It started there.
I'm throwing forearms on elbows. Here's the thing. At this point, this is going to be difficult because I was talking about our little conversation on Twitter that I had months ago that started like nuclear warfare between me and the Twitterverse when someone posted a GIF of Tobey Maguire on one side and Tom Holland on the other side, asking me which Spider-Man was better. And I just posted a GIF of Andrew Garfield, and I started a crazy war that got me threats and all sorts of things. I don't want to necessarily go back into this world. Brad Guy says Black Panther was my number 6 of picture lineup. I didn't mind those visual effects. It should have been nominated. We'll get to that. Brad Guy says those effects were amazing. We'll get to that. Smurfy Boy says people talking the CGI battles completely ruined Black Panther. Okay. So, this is just my opinion. I did not have any knowledge of the comic books going into it. I didn't have any knowledge of anything about it. The only knowledge I've had of Black Panther, of the movie itself, was its bits and pieces in Avengers. That's it. That's all I knew.
It was always really weird to me that you saw Infinity War and Endgame before you finally saw Black Panther.
Yeah, I know. And it took this actual mission in order for me finally to watch it. It doesn't feel like a superhero movie. I'll say that right now. It doesn't watch like a superhero movie. Some of the ADR loops drove me insane. Like, I hated some of the sound effects in the movie. I really did. Like, some of the action sequences, didn't like that.
Which action sequences?
Just in general, like, I guess, like, obviously I'm a big Batman mark, as everyone knows. My, like, pow, bam, zowie, like, I felt a little bit like the sound effects and some of the action sequences just didn't work for me. It just kind of took me out of it. I didn't see Wonder Woman either, but I get what DC was doing with trying to bring everything in from a fantastical world into what is modern day or what took place back in the day, like the scenes in California and everything like that. I kind of liked how that was done. You can definitely tell that there's a lot into it, and you can tell that it is something that was very much wanted to be done the way that it was. You can definitely tell it was passion behind it. It wasn't something that was just thrown on the screen, not just to appease all the marks. It was something that they really wanted to do a good job on. And I like Coogler's work. I really do. The movie itself just kind of lost me. But it picked it back up, like the last hour of the movie, to me, honestly, actually worked a lot better. Because when we're actually starting to get more, and I see Michael B. Jordan, who is my easily favorite part of the movie. Love his character, absolutely. So Bry Guy says I would have nominated Michael B. Jordan. I mean, I couldn't go that far, but I mean, because there's so many great supporting actor performances. But yeah, he's fantastic in it. I love his Walter Jones hair. I like that greatly. Yes, I referenced the Black Power Ranger. That's how it works. He's just so great in the movie. I just like how we use the term King Heel on the network a lot, and he definitely does the Lion King bit with literally throwing him off the cliff. I like that. That was awesome. I like the way that was done. I do also like the fact that it wasn't played like a general superhero movie either. I know I kind of beat it up a little bit for not being a traditional superhero movie, but I like the cursing. I think it worked. It worked in context. I mean, it doesn't work as well as when Jericho does it on TNT every Wednesday night, but it still worked for me. So I liked it, though, because it made him more malicious because, yeah, he's a bad guy in a superhero movie. That's great. But he's King Heel because he can curse during these scenes before he literally kicks him to the curb, and I love that. It was a great scene. I very much enjoyed it. Boseman's great. I like the fight sequence when they're battling with the train going back and forth. I thought that was just awesome. I just like a great scene on one of my literal favorite parts of the entire movie. That final battle, like when we're going to that fantastical world of Wakanda and they're having the big, like, when worlds collide battle when everything is going down at the same time. I liked that. I liked how it was done. But one of the things that didn't really gravitate for me, and this is going to get more heat as well, is that, like, I wasn't very invested in the female characters in the movie. I just wasn't. I wanted to see when we're going to get to Michael B. Jordan and he start kicking some more ass. I enjoyed that. That was great. And I like the fact that he did so many bad things that it was time for Chadwick Boseman to come in and it's like, it's on now. And that's just when it just started to unfold for me. Now, I would have cut at least 20 minutes off of it because it kind of dragged a little bit. But I mean, that's just me, though. There's a couple parts in the middle, like a couple of like the exposition stuff. I just kind of like lost me a little bit. I just wasn't really invested in it. Granted, it was like midnight when I was trying to finish it, so it was kind of like it was Owen sleepy time. So it was kind of like I was just trying to get more into it. If I might have watched it a little bit earlier in the day, maybe I would have been able to like grasp a little more what everybody's talking about. I don't hate it at all, not even close. But I mean, it just for me, it just didn't work. Not that it was bad, and it's not, but it's just kind of like I was tapping the wrist a couple times. I was like, "Are we going home anytime soon?" And then I just kept like, it was one of the only movies that I was watching on this mission that I was kind of like, I was like, "Am I gonna get a text message anytime soon so I can get me away from this for a minute?" I mean, it's not like something I completely abandoned halfway through, but we'll get to that in a bit. But it's just, it was fine. Okay. So Bry Guy says this could have been the film that would have nominated Andy Serkis. Its motion capture performance are ineligible, like voice acting performance. Black Panther is one of the very few MCU films that has its own identity, and that's because of Coogler's direction. And you can't deny Black Panther didn't deserve to win costume and production design. It looked fine. Like it looked okay. It certainly did exist.
But it's funny you brought him up because I was about to ask that. You were talking about you didn't care much for the side characters and you liked it better in kind of the second half.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on what Andy Serkis brought to the table? Because a lot of people, including me, love that character and that performance. And if I heard correctly, Ryan Coogler loved the performance so much that he regretted killing him off.
Yeah, and they shouldn't have. I'll give him that completely. They shouldn't have killed him off at all. But it's weird because at this point, when I was talking about the side characters and everything, the person I wanted to see more of, like the conversation we had on the phone, was Martin Freeman. I don't know what about his character just like it just kind of worked for me. I liked it. And I liked how he basically came in as a pilot at the end and it's time to like mess some stuff up. I enjoyed that. But everything going on and like the massive battle at the end, it's probably something I should have been like marking out for and everything and like cheering and everything. No. If I would have been more invested in the side characters, I would have cared more about their demise towards the end or their heroic triumph at the end as well.
I'm really surprised. I need to clarify this just to be sure I heard right. Did I hear you praise the train fight at the end?
I liked what it was doing.
Yeah, the people. I don't know how people got to the point that they are basing their almost entire opinion of a 2-hour and 15-minute movie on a few, maybe like 1 or 2 minutes of not so great CGI. and on top of the fact that terrible CGI is followed up by the very strong scene of Killmonger's death. Not when he stabs him, but when he takes him out and he says, I'd rather die than live in bondage or whatever the line.
Right.
Giving the whole slavery background to what his motivations were, it's like, how is that not what you label? Like, I don't know.
I mean, to some extent, from what I vaguely remember, the train scene is basically the Darth Maul fight from Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
where you have the bout, and then all of a sudden, the barriers come up, so that it's just like, okay, now we have to wait. It was seconds out, round 2.
Take the heat as well with CGI and everything like that. I just, for the time being, for 12:30 in the morning, it was something that really was working for me.
Yeah, I mean, I do get when you're talking about how the action scenes didn't work for you. What did you think about the one-on-one scenes, like with him and Winston Duke, and then? Well, you mentioned he and Jordan fight, kind of, but
the straight combat scenes are great.
Yeah, but I do get the criticism about like the climatic battle scenes being too much, but I feel like that's less a problem with Black Panther and more the fact that it's literally the climax of like nearly every MCU movie. So by the time Black Panther came around, it's tired.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think that's an issue I have with the MCU movies anyway. It's the fact that sometimes I'm like, hey, let's mark out, let's watch this guy get killed. I'm down with that most of the time, but it's because I've been with these characters throughout so many movies that I've followed their character arc and I've become invested in them. You're taking a movie which Black Panther for me is something that I just watched, literally just watched last night, and it's something I haven't had a chance for these characters to resonate in my mind enough for them to matter when something happens to them.
Yeah, that's kind of where me and you are the total opposite.
Right.
And that's not like you not paying attention or anything like that. It was just for some reason I was already so amped to see Black Panther because I loved him so much in Civil War.
Right.
So when I sat down in the theater for Black Panther, I was immediately there. Like when it's Sterling K. Brown and the other guy, the young Forrest Whitaker that looks exactly like a young Forrest Whitaker.
Yes.
And it's like, in that 2 minutes, we have never seen these dudes before. And it's
True.
like they come in, and then it's like, oh, we learn who Sterling K. Brown is, but then like, oh, there's a twist. Young Forrest Whitaker is actually who he is. And it's like, by that point, I was already in it. I was like, holy shit, I don't even know these people, but I'm into this already. I was just immediately there. So that's the thing where it just depends on the person, where if you weren't immediately there, I could see that happen. What happened?
But here's the thing, though. Another thing too that may not have helped with this was the fact that not being able to watch it theatrically might have helped a little bit too.
Yeah.
Because I have an opportunity to watch it theatrically. It literally came back to my cinemas yesterday, but because of getting everything done in time, I had no way of doing it. So if I would have watched it in the theater, I might have had a different opinion, but it doesn't matter now. I mean, it's all over. So I mean, I'm just trying to get out as much as I can about this. This is a difficult movie for me to talk about because I know it has so many fans, including yourself. And for me, I mean, I think right now, it's probably it's not that I hate it, but if I had to rank my 8, I think it's probably my last one right now.
I can see from where I'm sitting, I can see 3 pieces of Black Panther merchandise that I
We got chat going on right now. Brad Guy says I like trains. That's random. Brad Guy says I say Endgame overrated and Rise of Skywalker was underrated. That's another hot take. Infinity War is better than Endgame, says Smurfy Boy.
That seems to be a pretty popular opinion. I can see where people are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with Endgame is you had the inevitability that the heroes were going to win.
Yeah.
You didn't expect Infinity War to have, Thanos won. Because obviously you didn't work out how he was, what the next step was after half the planet gets obliterated.
Oh, God. I don't even want to think about where we're headed next, AJ.
Let's do the favorite.
Okay. So AJ told me before we started that there was a performance I was really going to like in the favorite. And this is why he's my best friend, because he knows me so well. Yeah, Nicholas Holt in the favorite. Fantastic. Can I just talk about this random duck race and the bizarre cursing and the strange lesbian subplot and just so many things about this movie probably shouldn't have worked for me, but the whole time I was like, okay, let's continue. So
I was going to say, don't you dare say anything negative in the name of Horatio. He is...
Oh no, of course not.
I was gonna say that you saw all these scenes, and then at the end you said directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, and you weren't surprised.
And I love the fact that there was like I love the fact that Queen basically turned into like a bunny lady. Instead of a cat lady, she was a bunny lady.
It's the cat lady of that era.
Coleman been about as honestly at this point, Coleman was about as useless as W was in Vice. Honestly.
That's a hot take right there.
Yeah, the scenes like I just finished watching it like right. It was the second to last movie I watched on this mission, and it was some of those times I was like, oh, they went there, they went there, they went there, and just like some of the wording, some of the explicit dialogue. I mean, AJ did warn me this was not going to be something I was going to be bored by, and I was not at all bored by this movie. This is not something I was tapping my wrist. I was like, give me more now. I want more of this movie. And it's just okay. Can we go back real quick to the carriage scene at the very beginning, where Emma Stone's just sitting there, and all of a sudden this guy is just kind of like he's just sitting there doing what he does and just watching her and everything.
It's kind of like it's got a weird resemblance to the subway scene in Black Swan.
Yeah, very much so.
When that weird dude's just like watching her and doing that.
He just sat there conjugating the verb as much as he wanted to, and it's just like. And then next thing you know, she just gets kicked out of the carriage, and like I love the fact that it's played like this could have been a series, like a television series on the BBC. I'd like to see that actually. If not a movie, this would have been a great like serial style series on like the BBC. I don't know. That for me, just looking at it feels like very BBC-esque. But like, I mean,
the whole set and cast of characters is, this is kind of a cliche, but I mean, if it's suiting to anything, the sets and all the characters is basically like a giant chessboard.
Yeah, very much so. I also had a Jeremy Cinema Scenes moment every single time that the wording on the screen matched what they said in dialogue. Because I was like, oh, this does this does that. And then it's like, okay, roll credits. So it's a very bizarre movie. It goes a lot of very bizarre places. It's shot very well. It's directed very well, and it's acted very well. I've never been a major fan of Olivia Colman at all. I think it's probably Tyrannosaur that I don't like about her a lot. But
which is weird.
She's really good in this.
I'd say that's my favourite performance of hers. If you take out sort of her TV comedy stuff and everything.
Let's see. Oh, real quick before we go any further, Brad Guy says, "Don't worry, Owen. There's one movie AJ is gonna get me. We'll see. I don't know. We'll find out soon. Favorite's my number one for picture and director. Smurfy Boy says the fact Green Book won screenplay over The Favorite bothers me to this very day. Don't worry.
That makes less sense than Rockwell's nomination.
It's just the dialogue. I love the way that it flows. I love the fact that it didn't feel like a traditional period piece. It was, but it wasn't. I mean, it's not like I didn't get like Little Women vibes, but kind of like somewhat what that was going into. Because obviously, I watched Little Women after this, so I mean, it's different. I mean, before this, so it's like it's not the same. But for me, it was like the same style of dialogue.
Every time I watch The Favorite, I get serious Barry Lyndon vibes.
Very much Barry Lyndon vibes. Luckily, we got to watch that theatrically several years ago.
Yeah.
So that was a cool thing we got. Back in the day when theaters used to play movies that were like Fathom events and things like that. Like, granted, that was the little indie screen that we watched so many things about the plant getting shut down. So needless to say, always bring that one up. Bright Guy says number 3 for original screenplay, 2 for Rachel Wise, and I have Coleman and Stone in 5th since they were in the wrong categories. If they were in their right, Coleman would be 1 for supporting, Stone would be 1 for leading. Number 1 for film editing, Stone is one of the best American actors that can do a British accent. Bry Guy says, I didn't like the lobster, but I love the favorite.
I like it. It's a cliche to say it's a point because it's everybody's criticism. I like half of the lobster.
That's
But
fair.
I think
though I do.
I think Lanthimos's best film is Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Yeah, I was thinking I was saying that I only like half of the lobster, which is what everybody said. But it's like now that with the favorite and Killing of Sacred Deer, now that I feel like I have a good hold on Lanthimos's style, I wonder if I would like the lobster better if I saw it again.
Speaking of Sacred Deer, Ashley, you got into it before I could say it from chat. Balin the Hobbit says, Sacred Deer shook me to my core.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's why it's so good. Yeah. And then Barry
Yeah,
went
because
and
I feel like
Barry went and ruined it by being in Dunkirk.
because when you said that you thought The Favorite was a very bizarre movie, I felt like I could hear Lanthimos somewhere saying, "You're welcome."
I mean, I got like a lot of Ari Aster vibes from it too, actually.
I can get that.
The feel, like, it feels like the music. It's so foreboding, and it's in the background, and it just kind of like matches everything. I just love everything about it.
This would usually be a downside, but I love the repetition of the score. Because
Oh my gosh.
It's almost like The Shining, and the repetition of the score is kind of slowly driving you crazy on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. I feel like Captain Hook with the crocodile. I mean, it just drives me insane, but I want more. I want to keep getting more into these characters. That's one of the things I really dug about the movie. You weren't lying about the vomit scenes. I wasn't expecting all those. Good Lord.
Yep. All three major actresses in it got one of their own.
I still think one of my favorite scenes, Rachel Weisz is on the horse and everything like that, and all of a sudden she's like, and then it's like, done. Then she gets dragged through the...
I had a couple of questions. One was going to be, as far as kind of surprising performances, what did you think of Joe Alwyn after only really knowing him for Billy Lynn up to this point?
He's going to be a big deal one of these days. I really think so. I think he's somebody that's waiting to break out. Billy Lynn probably should have been his breakout, but it wasn't. And his connection to Taylor Swift probably helps a little bit too with the street cred. But I mean, he's solid. He's solid in this, and I love everybody wearing like the giant fluffy hair, and they're all dressed in their Sunday best. I like that a lot. I like how everybody's just like doesn't care about anything. They care too much, but not enough at the same time.
Something I appreciate more and more the more times I see it is Stone's arc.
Oh my god.
That's another thing where, like, obviously a lot of it's her performance, and that's also where a lot of the brilliance of the writing comes in also.
She's so good.
Yeah, because you kind of get glimpses of where she's headed early, but enough to where you still don't quite see it coming, just how extreme she's going to get.
It's wrestling vernacular 101. It's literally, she starts out as like a straight up baby face, and like midway through the entire movie she goes straight tweener, and then she goes full on heel at the end. It's like the scene at the very, like, towards the end where she's got her feet propped up on the bunny and she kind of pushes her foot into it a little bit, and then all of a sudden Olivia Colman has a conniption and she snaps on her and tells her to go away. So I mean, it shows how, like, it was like a very Cruella de Vil moment actually for me.
Yeah. What? So you're saying it's foreshadowing since we're getting that from her?
Exactly. It's like she knew. Yeah, Bry Guy says, what about Dogtooth? Yeah, we talked about Dogtooth back on this network back in the day. Very, very bizarre movie. Yeah, accidentally shooting at Stone. That's what Smurfy Boy said. That was hilarious. I agree with that. Throwing the books at her randomly, too.
Yeah, that's not
gets caught.
That's something else I was going to bring up about Stone's arc is sometimes just in the physicality you can see the change, like the two different scenes when she's shooting with Vice, where the first time the way she holds the rifle is like really kind of timid, and then by the next time that scene happens,
she
she's
watched her performance in Zombieland and went, "No, that's how I do it."
I liked it though. Well, it's an evolution of her character too, and the fact that she basically started to become a lot more heartless as we progressed, doing was mentioned here. Smurfy Boy says that they kind of switched roles, and they really did. Yeah. By the end of the movie, Sarah was Abigail, and Abigail was Sarah.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me, it was a 18th century version of performance.
There was, I gotta remember if I'm hearing this right. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I heard a lot of comparisons. I remember a couple years ago that it's basically a more sadistic period version of The Devil Wears Prada.
That's a really good way to put it, honestly.
But certainly,
I see that vibe quickly.
As I say, it sort of goes performance or Man Who Haunted Himself, in which the role sort of reverse. In wrestling vernacular terms, it's basically Austin Brett from Mania 13.
Okay, that's fair. So double turn then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I totally see that.
So the more I think about it, the more the Devil Wears Prada thing is actually perfect, because there's even the moment where both Blunt and Vice are taken out of commission due to a physical incident, and they have to recover physically.
Yes, join us for the Versus in 2024.
What do you think about the dance scene?
It's so weird.
I felt like
he was getting his inner Soul Train on at that one point. He was like, and I was like, what's going on?
That is the scene where it's like it's a double kind of thing here. It's a great scene because we can see the subtle emotion change in Coleman as the envy sets in because of Vice and her place in this. But it's also kind of because we see the way the movie's shot. Like, we got the fisheye thing, we got the dialogue.
Right. Yeah.
Everything about it makes it feel. But that dance scene is kind of the turning point to where it's like, this is a unique movie. And I do like the best possible way.
Well, and I also appreciate the fact that she stole Professor Xavier's wheelchair, too. That's another thing, too. That thing was monstrous. Every time I saw it come on screen, I was like, my God, I think it's getting bigger.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was a running gag, and it was it subtly was getting bigger.
It's a Monty Python reference, is exactly what it is.
So is anything else you have to add to the favorite?
I really liked it. I liked it a lot. I think if I had to put it, it's definitely top 5 for me. I'm pretty sure.
The way you were talking about the other things here, I'll be honest, I'm surprised.
Honestly, I am too, because it was something like, I just got done running. I got a speedy freeze so I could wake myself up a bit. I had some breakfast. And it was like, okay, am I going to fall asleep to this, or am I just going to wait until I get this over with so I can watch Botchmania? No. I just was like, it's time. I need to, try to focus on this. And I was like, where's this going? Where's this going? Wait a minute. Well, someone used this. They used the C word, and I was like, okay, that doesn't happen fairly often in period piece. Wait a minute, they're using it multiple times. Emma Stone's yelling the F word at the top of her lungs. What's going on here?
That, you talk about the C word and its use. That first time Holt says it to Vice has to be one of the most perfectly delivered.
I agree. Yeah, exactly. You're correct. Smurfy Boy says the scene where Coleman tells the boy to look at her and screams, "How do you for looking at her," was her Oscar scene. Yeah, her tantrums, her Johnny tantrums were priceless in this movie.
Yeah, because you never knew when they were coming, because she always looked so wounded. But then she would take the outburst somewhere else because she was too afraid to blow up the Vice.
She turns into the Duke in Moulin Rouge. She really does with her delivery and everything. Like, I don't like people touching my things. And it's like, get away from me. Why are you staring at me now? It's like, that's exactly where I was being the entire time. It didn't sell me on Coleman, like, overall, but the performance was great. I see where people are coming from with loving her as an actress. This is the performance that I needed to see.
I like her performance a lot, but I think I love the fact that she won the most just because of the surprise factor. Because I feel like just about, I mean, she took BAFTA, but I feel like just about anybody was betting on Chloe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sort of the same way just about everybody was betting on Chloe.
I've got to bring up the spreadsheet. To see where
we'll get to that. Don't worry.
To see where we actually predicted 2 years ago. That one, I guess. Maybe.
I'm trying to keep the show flowing well for somebody to really review very much.
I was going to say, what about the Elton John usage at the end?
Oh, the end credits. The end credits song. I love that. I let the credits play through every time I watch it.
Yeah.
Actually, Roma was the direction I was headed in.
Okay.
Because I feel like when we get to Black Klansman, once you've said what you said, I'm afraid I'm gonna not be able to stop myself if I get started.
Oh, we're ending on Green Book, so I mean.
So do you want to go on over to Roma?
Okay.
Let's get that Criterion cover up there. That's a
okay.
damn nice cover.
So we talk a lot about wrestling on this channel, and we're going to continue to do that. We do that on Sundays, thanks to Ashley.
Somehow.
But there's a promo that exists, and AJ, you may know where I'm going with this. Ashley, you definitely know where I'm going with this. There was a Stone Cold Steve Austin promo back in the day that comes to mind when I think about this movie. And it basically said, and I'm not Will, so I'm not doing a Steve Austin impersonation. But when it comes down to it, you put an S in front of Hitman, you have the idea what I think about Bret Hart. Well, if you put another letter in front of Oma, you have what I think about the movie, and that is a C, because that movie put me straight up into a coma.
Wow.
Go on.
We'll get to it. Don't worry. So I think what put Coleman over Close was the fact that the favorite had 10 nominations, where Close was the wife's only nomination. Therefore, more people saw the performance. And Bry Guy says they have the Criterion Blu-ray of Roma along with Marriage Story. The question is, when are they going to release The Irishman?
I'm wondering in that case, was the color grade a factor? Was the color grade a factor in your doziness?
No, not at all. This movie could have been in Ted Turner living color, and I still would have felt the same way I did.
Mm-hmm.
It would be. I mean, I hate to seem. I don't know if this sounds pretentious or what it is, but I feel like it'd be less interesting, like significantly less interesting in color because of the way it's shown. So
yeah, because I could have seen the dings on the side of the car every single time it tries to go in that little tiny spot when it right in front of the door, because she has to go out on the opposite side in order to be able to get out.
In the same way that I'm wondering whether Black and White Parasite will be seen somehow in a different way.
No, it's actually a good movie.
No. I don't mean like that.
Usually, you would think, because I think Mad Max has one also, I think.
Yeah, what they call it, the Black and Chrome edition, yeah.
That's another movie I don't really go with.
It does seem like that wouldn't necessarily do a whole lot, but there actually is a movie that has a black and white version, and it actually enhances it, and like it's the better version. That would be The Mist.
Yes.
You can tell The Mist was made for black and white.
Yeah. Well, of course, the interesting thing about Parasite is, of course, that was originally going to be black and white. And it was,
I think
it was only, they only thought maybe do it in color instead. And
It would have worked.
Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, considering how good the cinematography is with Roma, the color grade really wouldn't really be in effect, I'd have thought.
Yeah, because a lot of the greatness of the cinematography. Because usually when you say cinematography, the first thing people think of is like maybe like the shots on like the beach or something. But really, the cinematography comes down to in Roma is the way it's moving, like the way it, like when we get those shots of the house and it just stays in place and like rotates.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. That's the real strength of what Forum was doing there, where we get like the whole house layout without the camera having to move, like not be stationary as far as where it's planted.
I don't even want to talk here. I just don't. Smurfy Boy says Roma is a slow burn, but once it starts going, it's amazing. Bright Guy says Roma 8 for picture, 3 for director, 1 for actress, 3 for supporting actress, 2 for international, 3 for cinematography. For the latter two, Never Look Away should have won those 2 categories.
Okay, I don't want to be one of those am I the only one people, because obviously that's never the case. But seriously, am I the only one that thinks Roma was paced very well? Roma does not feel its length to me at all.
I tried. I really did. I mean, it wasn't late when I watched it. It didn't have another movie with it. It was just most of the time I was just kind of like sitting going like, what's going on? I don't like this. I mean, first off, it's disgusting. But I think that's the point.
Are you talking about the dog shit?
That's nasty and shouldn't be there. The food looks nasty. It's just ugh.
Divine's there going, I did that shit first, literally.
I was thinking, wasn't the dog shit kind of somewhat a conflict because the dad thought that Yulitsa wasn't really doing her job or something?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because it made the house feel filthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, not to mention the whole thing we continuously talked about before, where this is one of those movies where Quaron literally just took memories from his mind and miraculously made them cinematic images.
And I'm not going to fault him for that. But, I mean, as a theater goer, in this case, I was watching it literally right next to me right now on this television screen. I just couldn't get into it. AJ knows.
To be fair though, Owen, 99% of people that watched Roma probably watched it in that way. Because this was before Netflix actually realised they needed to do proper cinema releases for people to be interested. Yeah, it was only because of Roma's successes that I had to sit through 4 fucking hours of The Irishman. I know it was 3.5, but it felt like 4.
I love that movie.
Well, you know what else I find really impressive about the way Roma is shot. Obviously, Quaron has a very diverse filmography. Everything from A Little Princess to Children of Men to Prisoner of Azkaban, E.T. Mama Zombie, Gravity, The Great Expectations movie with Ethan Hawke.
I like most of those, though. That's the thing.
And you would think that you don't necessarily. Well, it depends on the person, but it's like some people may love that a director has a signature.
Right.
Like I watch all Spike Lee movies wanting a Spike Lee movie, and you see his signature shots and all of his traits and all that stuff.
Sure.
But then you have like all of Quaron's movies feel different. But I found it really impressive that he made a movie as different from Gravity as Roma, where he's just taking images out of his mind and his memory and putting them on screen. But it's like when the camera's revolving around the house, I watch that and I say, I can tell this is the director of Gravity.
Right.
which is insane, especially since I'm referring to an indoor shot. I mean, there's something to that. There's something very significant about him as a filmmaker that you can see that and take that away from him. What about performance-wise? Like Yalitza said,
Yalitza's really good. Yalitza easily is head and shoulders above everybody else. I like everything that she does. She was
weird. What was that?
She's again, like I said before, I like everything she does. I mean, I do like sometimes where she has to play like. There's times that she has to care, and it shows. It 100% shows. Like when she goes to try to find Furman.
Yeah.
And she does everything she do to try to find Furman. She goes to the guy at the band practice to try to find him. And there's also times like in the department store when like all the chaos is going around that she doesn't seem to like flinch about the things. She does, but it's a little bit more internal than anything else. I like that too. I think that was done really well. I like the fact that she has to play the entirety of an entire performance throughout the entire movie. She's growing as a person, not just growing in an acting performance. I like that about it too.
And how when you're not talking about the gradualness there, where it's like this is a very inexperienced actress. Like this was like the very first thing she ever did, right?
Yeah, it's like blue is the warmest color all over again.
And these long takes are asking a lot of an inexperienced actor.
Totally.
I think my favorite shot in the whole movie is the movie theater.
Oh, most definitely.
When she slowly comes to the conclusion that he's not coming back, and we just see like the credits against the curtain, and it's like, and we kind of see that progression of she's starting to figure out where this is going. Because he was really convincing that he was coming back. He was like, "Oh, I'll bring you an ice cream."
Yeah, exactly. And Smurfy Boy hits the nail on the head. The scene where she gives birth to a stillborn baby is heartbreaking. Yeah, totally. I can see that.
I've seen Roma 3 times. I only could watch that scene the first time. It's too powerful. Is what it is.
It's rough in all the good ways. It's basically making you have to just deal with what's happening in front of you because it's real life. It's exactly what's going on. And it's just, and then you see her like completely listless and like completely devoid of emotion just after the scene is over, and she just kind of like, I exist now, and nothing matters anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how you would feel in that circumstance. And I thought that was a very powerful scene, especially for someone without any range, because they haven't seen what kind of range they're going to have as an actress. They basically just have to go into a very deep, dark place and to find that emotional performance, and she knocked it out of the park easily.
And I love how not overblown that reveal is at the end after she saves the kids.
Yeah, we're talking about the beach rescue scene. That's what Brian was talking about too.
And how that's kind of when that sort of catatonic state almost comes full circle when she confesses out loud that she didn't want it to be born.
Yeah.
I love how not overblown that moment is.
It's like all of a sudden she's like kind of babysitting the one kid. The next thing you know, she's like out in the distance. She doesn't see her kids that she's supposed to watch. And the next thing you know, she's just like trudging out in the water and just not caring about anything. And I'm like, we're going to lose her, aren't we? Because I don't know anything about the movie. I mean, I just know a little bit from what we've seen, like clips during the award season.
And now that you've seen that scene, you have context for what I was talking about when I'm really going for the Spike Lee transition here. There was that moment when they were doing the Directors Guild interview, the Directors Guild kind of roundtable thing they do. And Spike Lee is a very experienced director with like an endless array of techniques he has used.
Right.
And at this Directors Guild thing, he looked right at Quaron and said, "How the hell did you shoot that?" Because apparently it was like a pier that went all the way out. That's how they did it. But
when I say I wasn't a fan of the movie, like I said, I didn't dislike it. I didn't hate it. It's not something. I mean, it's something I'm not going to go back to. But I mean, it's one. It has very powerful performances, and you can definitely, like I said before, you can definitely tell that Cuarón put his literal heart and soul into the movie, and the shots are phenomenal. It's a beautiful movie. It really is. It's disgusting in places, but like I said before, it kind of has to be because you're telling the story. I was wondering. Go ahead.
Do you have any qualms about his director win? It's one of those things that's annoying because you're like, there's other choices you have, but you're like, almost objectively, you have to say.
I mean, after watching it and given what I've seen and everything like now, I can probably say that I think that Spike Lee should have won. It's a more complete film. Roma looks incredible, but Black Klansman is much more complete overall. But yeah, I don't have a qualm with it happening. Like, for example, most of the things that have happened in the award season, I understand why they happen now. I may not agree with some of them, but I see why. And as we transition real soon to the actual picture winner, I can say that I understand why things happen the way they did, even though I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah, I would really like to see like an alternate year that the favorite would come out and Lanthimos would be much more in the competition.
Totally. I mean, Yelitsa's performance, I mean, we'll see where she goes from here. Like, is she going to end up being like, is she going to be another Barkad Abdi, or is she going to be someone that's going to just blow up in her next performance?
Barkad Abdi still pops up occasionally.
Yeah, but he's not really doing much right now.
To be fair, I looked up, wonder whether, Yelitsa's had any stuff since. And the answer is no. She's become a UN ambassador and stuff that, but I haven't really heard anything about her getting picked up for anything else that I'm aware of. She's done some TV shorts and video shorts, apparently, according to IMDb, but other than that, not that much.
I'm not gonna. I'd be remiss if I didn't admit the circumstances around this movie. Roma took me so much out of it, I had to leave it midway through and return to it. Like, about the scene where everybody's shooting guns in the outside, that was like, I'm done. I need to return to this later when I can focus more.
This, I may have mentioned this sometime after nomination this morning, but this is, I don't know if this has happened before, but it was kind of weird. But is it weird that it wasn't until after Miranda Vera got nominated that I started to appreciate her? Because when I saw it, I wasn't even remotely thinking about the possibility of that, and her character just kind of seemed there. But then when I saw it again after nominations morning, I actually paid attention to her, and she's really fucking good.
Yeah, she's very solid in the performance too.
If you recall, given the shit show that was going on in that category at the award shows, I went ahead and threw my prediction at her just because that was when we were all convinced Roma was winning picture.
Yep. Which, hindsight being 2020, I'm very glad that didn't happen.
Please tell me you at least remember bloody Professor Zovek. Considering that's the only connection to wrestling in the film.
Not off the top. Oh, okay. Right on.
Latin Lover played the professor that she's
Latin Lover in the actual screen. Yeah, Latin Lover's literally a name on the screen. I was like, what's going on?
No, yeah.
That's a thing?
Latin Lover was a real AAA wrestler, and he was the one doing Professor Zovek doing the whole, was it the yoga stuff at the training?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Again, when we're going to talk about that, then I want to bring this up as well. Can I just go like, at this point, the only thing that comes to mind right now is why was he naked? Seriously, why was he naked with a Singapore cane? I don't know why that was a thing. I don't know why it had to be a thing. I mean, it's just something that did not need to exist. And he wasn't. He was like all Frank Langella and Lolita and everything, and I'm not down with that at all. So
It's like when you. So basically, you're saying that when you saw that scene, you already knew he was going to be a piece of shit. It was not a surprise.
yes, absolutely. He almost had the backwards hat like forming on his head.
Yeah.
New Year's Fire with the dude coming in front of the camera and singing. That was speaking of that. So this movie also had subtitles, which I don't care about. That's not a big deal. I can deal with that. But in another language, some of these songs were absolutely terrifying. Like the music was just straight up creepy, like ghost children singing in the background. That's what it sounded like, and it was just scaring me. Like I was like, "What's going on? Is this going to turn into a paranormal movie?"
That was something I totally forgot to bring up. I was going to bring up is this is going way back. I love Vice's theme,
Yes.
where it gives you like that because you have the scene when they're in bed where it's like intentionally Shakespearean the way they're talking to each other.
Yes.
And it's like that score really gives that almost like Shakespearean vibe. and it's really fucking. There's so between Vice, The Favorite, and now you're talking about Roma. There's so much sinister music in these movies.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And we didn't even mention the music in the movie that won score. So, are we ready for Black Landsman?
This is gonna suck for me because I'm gonna feel like I'm not gonna be able to give it nearly enough love as I should.
Should we be worried?
No, not at all. I'm not. I don't have the pedigree to do this review. First off, AJ never told me about the Get Smart reference, which is kind of just like a throwaway, just one note joke and then it's gone. But that's enough for me. With what's going on right now and everything, this movie is very topical, very topical. And the like real life scenes at the very end of the movie, like the real life, what was going on and all of the protests and everything, it's just like it's so powerful.
Topical is kind of Mike Lee's forte.
I'm aware of that, but it's just
I mean, there's a reason
I
why
haven't-
The Five Bloods came out this year as well.
and as soon as I find out when the snakes appear, I'll know I'll be able to watch that movie.
Yeah, there's something I got to kind of gush about. And I kind of talked to you about this, Owen. In between Black Klansman and Green Book, there's a movie I have to gush about because I don't have another context for it. Because I don't want to do like a video on it because but we'll talk about that when we're done with Black Klansman.
I mean, this had a lot of it's a big thing to live up to. Like AJ and I have a lot of in common when it comes to our movie tastes. 9 times out of 10, his best picture of the year is generally mine. Not because I'm trying to copy him, it's because we agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, without question. I feel like after talking all these things about the various other films and about ready to talk about Green Book in a few minutes, I feel like I can't say how great Black Klansman is and be able to give actual comments about why. It's honestly just something that I was watching and the whole time my mouth was agape. Like, this is actually happening in front of me. And I mean, at this point, it's just everything about the movie was just incredible. Like the score, I liked the dialogue, I liked the setup for everything. I like the fact that they played everything for exactly what it was. There was no sugarcoating anything, and I think that was made it even better. And it's just there's so many things I'd like to say. It's like the Ron Stallworth character versus the Ron Stallworth character that David Duke knows. Completely two different people, but played so well by John David Washington. Just you took a concept that could have ended up being another undercover brother, which I liked, but you made it work in a more grandiose fashion. You made it a lot more serious. Oh, it's flat out hilarious in places. But there's some real we talk about sinister people in this world. Just all the things that the organization were doing and thinking that everything was okay is just I mean, I can talk for days about how great Topher Grace is here. And he's one of my favorite characters in the movie in his bit role because of how much of a moron he's played as. And I love that because that's what David Duke was. He was a Kool-Aid drinking moron. But the thing is, what? Yes, exactly. Yeah, well, yeah, it probably still is. The only people who drink Kool-Aid are cool members of the Dark Order. Thing is, when it comes down to it, I mean, the fact that these people really thought this stuff, and the fact we're doing this when they're trying to abolish the NRA makes me laugh hysterically. But the thing is, I just there's these extremely evil people in this world, and I love the fact that Ron Stallworth pulled a fast one over on everybody. I thought that was great, especially down to his promo at the very end where he finally tells David Duke off, and he's like, it's like he's about ready to go, like, just jump off a bridge at this point. We know that didn't happen, but he's just so like, well, that happened. I'm going to sit here with the camera on me for the next 15 seconds because there's nothing else I can say at this point.
That's another thing I love. Kind of like what I said about the scene in Roma, where it's like, I love that it's not too overblown. Like, he just kind of sits in silent shock. There may or may not have been a whimper in there. I can't remember.
You can tell if he didn't, he wanted to. He was like, damn, they really pulled the wool over my eyes. How would I ever know? You speak so eloquently. Well, I got news for you, Steve Dave. Bad things are about to happen. And Adam Driver, my God. Adam Driver has to take a character that is a Jewish character that has to pretend to be a white KKK member, and he makes that work as well. I love how apprehensive he is about everything, and it's like Stallworth wants to keep going, but Flip's like, I don't know about this. And then towards the end, it's like you're seeing the dichotomy of what's going on, these telephone conversations, versus what Ron Stallworth is actually doing when it's Adam Driver, like him wearing like the hood and everything and having the membership card. I like when Ron Stallworth looked at the membership card for the first time, it's like, well, that's not going to happen any other day after this. The only person that can get away with that's Clayton Bigsby, and that's a comedy. It's kind of like Spike Lee was watching, like, again, it was kind of like he was like watching what was going on in the world, and like he always does, and he makes a lot of topical material, and then it's just like he was flipping to the screen and saw Chappelle's show, and it's like, hey, let's make Clayton Bigsby into a real life character and see how make it work into a movie.
He said that Chappelle actually did come to mind because it was Peele that pitched him the idea. And the thing that came up a lot, you probably remember in that season, was that the big thing about Black Klansman is if it wasn't a true story, nobody would have bought it as a movie.
Not at all.
They would have said it was totally impossible.
I appreciate Bry Guy saying outer space to throw out our Please Mr. Kennedy reference for the season. Bry Guy says Topher Grace is the best thing about the entire movie. No, but he's definitely one of them for sure. And
great is that guy that plays Felix is really good.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, and then you've got the scene with like, I don't remember, her name was Connie, right? It's
Yeah.
like she knows that she's got to do this, and she's on kind of like a suicide mission for all intents and purposes. That she's going to make sure this is taken care of. And then she walks in, and it's like it's building more dread, and building more dread is like, are you going to the speech? Are you going somewhere else? We don't know where you're going. And then it's like the race in the cop car to try and get over there and everything. And I love the fact that they went all crash and everything with the whole circumstance where it's like the cop, of course, Ron Stallworth is a police officer, an undercover detective, and he's the one that gets accosted, and he's the one that gets beaten up. And it's just like seeing it on the other side of the coin for a change. It's just like all these extremely evil people in this movie, and like they're not gonna like get like Inglourious Bastards to get their comeuppance, but you can tell that they got one over on the bad guy here. And usually I root for the heel when it comes to a lot of movies. In this case, that was never going to happen. Everything flowed the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, that scene where they're in bed and she's talking about her excitement to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
It turns into a horror movie.
It did. And it's like, and like Nick Turturro basically is like the whistleblower here. Like, he's the one that he's like, hey, he's that guy that sent me up the river and everything. And it's just like, are you sure him? It's like, that's Ron Stewart. No, his name's like Flip or something. It's like, and he calls him Flip, and like there's this feeling of foreboding that something bad's about to happen. I was like, the driver's gonna die? I was like, no, it's not gonna be what the case is. And it's just like, this isn't that type of movie. This isn't the type of your heroes will die. This is the type of a movie where like good will triumph in the end. And sometimes that can be played for comedy, but in this case, there's still these evil people in this world that they just got a slap on the wrist. They need to abolish things like this, and you just like, you can't really do that, but the trickle-down effect with trying to take one person down to try to make the world a better place.
Yeah, because a lot of people thought the ending with the real footage was too heavy-handed.
It's extremely heavy-handed, but it had to be.
Yeah, because the thing is it's like, because we stop Bar Harrier from blowing up. That's one thing.
Yes.
And then it immediately is followed up by and hey, we caught the racist cop, and now he's going to be arrested. And it's intentionally played up as a very sappy, happy ending.
Yeah.
And so it plays up the whole, hey, we got rid of one guy and one evil plan, so it's all over, right?
Nope.
And then it's like that the dollar shot that's in nearly every Spike Lee movie. That's like his one particular signature shot. Like apparently John David Washington was like really pumped about like, am I about to be in a Spike Lee dollar shot? This is like my life has been leading to this. And then that it goes into that scene because I talked about this with the Five Bloods also. Because Five Bloods also brings in like modern politics,
right?
Modern situations, and it's like a lot of people hate that because it's so on the nose and because it's what's literally happening now. But it's like that's the reason people think it's too much is because it's happening now. But it's like not only does the ending of BlacKkKlansman work as saying you could say it looked like it might have been over at a certain point, but it's gonna kind of always be there.
Yeah, of course.
But it's
you're never
also
gonna stop the bad guy.
Yeah, but I think it's also the case of people hate it because it's happening now and it's being put in movies now. But 15 to 20 years from now, BlacKkKlansman and the Five Bloods are going to be such a vivid portrait of this.
Totally.
So that's So like, we're kind of treading that line. We said we were going to.
Like me trying to do my deadlifts from yesterday in my workout class is like we're literally just treading the line right now. But yeah. I mean, it's just a phenomenal film, and I can't say enough great things about it. I really wish I could review it the way you guys do, honestly, because I can't. But I will say that
you keep saying that. You've done quite well, like this whole video.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. The literal checks in the mail. No.
This is BlacKkKlansman is the segue for the separate thing I wanted to talk about real quick.
Okay.
Did you have anything else you wanted to say on BlacKkKlansman?
head and shoulders above anything else of the picture lineup, and probably my favorite movie of the year as well. After finally seeing it,
I'm also
and
wondering whether his performance in Klansman is what got him the role as the protagonist in Tenet.
probably.
Yeah, because he's about to. We were saying when Black Klansman came out, it's like he's gonna be huge. Like, and it has nothing to do with being Denzel's kid. On his own, he's gonna be huge. And then, as soon as he got Tenet, it was like, oh shit, he's already there.
Yeah.
Like as soon as Tenet comes out, he is gonna be.
And you saw a lot of Denzel in his performance in Black Klansman too. You can definitely see he's an actor's actor, and you can definitely see that he's going to be a big deal, and that's the reason why Tenet was sent his way when we finally get to see it someday. So, but yeah, fantastic movie. I love every second of it. I love it's just such a great performance, and something that kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time. It was the great way to start this mission, and we segue to how I finished this mission.
Well, before we do, I just have to, if you all would just kind of like indulge me, if you remember real quick.
Oh,
of course.
With all this stuff about how Spike Lee's movies are very topical and stuff like that, I got motivated towards the beginning of the whole virus thing, where I was like, I was talking to a friend who does like montages of directors' works. It's like her whole YouTube channel. And I was talking to her about watching a director's filmography from beginning to end and what that's like, seeing the progression of them. Like the filmography I think I want to revisit is Spike Lee. And I had to prepare. So I basically did that through these past 6 months or so. And a movie that I bring up a lot when we talk about Spike Lee is the movie I find to be his most underrated, which is Bamboozled, which was just put on Criterion Blu-ray, and I got this as soon as I possibly could. And revisiting this was, I think it's probably one of his most lower rated. It's probably my favorite Spike Lee.
Wow.
With Black Klansman and The Five Bloods probably close behind, because they're like, he's really kind of reached a peak here in a way that you wouldn't expect. I mean, obviously, Do the Right Thing is great in all of its own ways. I could give you a whole video on that probably, but Bamboozle in particular, I just felt the need to gush about, especially after having watched it recently, because it's like, I think the reason it's his most low-rated movie is because it is just so like people were genuinely uncomfortable with it, and you keep think about what the concept is about the blackface and all that, and the whole minstrel show thing and all that. It's like this movie came out 20 years ago this year, and it's like I feel like the reason it got the reaction it did was because in the year 2000, people were so put off and uncomfortable with this. And it's kind of somewhat started to find a cult following. I really hope it finds like a full-on, like it gets like a full-on resurgence and rediscovery, and people start to see it for what it is, because it is like, it is insane, it is shocking, it is darkly funny, very darkly funny. And it's like by the time Damon Wayans' character is descending into full-on madness and insanity, it's hard to, like, this is why I kind of like said I could probably do a whole video on it if I wanted to, but I'm just kind of get at a loss for words. But like I said, if you are like really interested in Spike Lee's work and you haven't seen this, or you saw it a long time ago and didn't care for it, it absolutely needs to be revisited. Like 100%. Like I'm not even kidding when I say I feel like it's his best. And I love, he has maybe 2 movies I don't like.
Please tell me one of them is Old Boy.
But yeah, Old Boy is what it is. I didn't care for Chirac either, but I'm wondering if I do. I don't know. Maybe it's Nick Cannon. I don't know.
You leave Drumline alone.
If all else fails, blame Nick Cannon.
You leave Roll Bounce alone.
Which takes us back to another great Chappelle sketch.
I could watch Dave Chappelle all day long, and have many times back in the old apartment.
All right, now that we've gone into all the territory we've gone into, are we ready to talk about Green Book?
Oh boy.
Okay, this is what's interesting here from your perspective is I was trying to think. I don't think I have seen a movie after it. I haven't seen a movie for the first time after it won Best Picture since Chicago.
Wow.
So, and you probably go farther back than me, don't you?
I would say so.
So, was it really bizarre seeing Green Book post picture win?
I think it's going back to what you said a few minutes ago. It's one of those things that I didn't want to think about it as a picture winner. I know that was the point to this, but I wanted to think about it as just a movie, just trying to watch it by itself, without any context of what happened in the award season. It's funny because I was telling you on the phone, like right before we started this, is the fact that it was the one movie when I was talking about my mission of my 6 films I needed to watch this week that people were telling me I was going to enjoy, or they have enjoyed. Like one of my coworkers at work, one of my friends have told me, like saying that Green Book is something I'm gonna like. I did not realize what Green Book was about until we got into the movie. I didn't realize its musical background until we got into the movie. I completely gloss over that because it's not something that, even though that's the basis of the story, it's not what I remember from anything about the award season to even say that this is a musical movie. It's not, but it's got music based around it, and anybody that knows me knows that I'm a sucker for a music movie. And going to the end, all the way from the fact that Tony and Don remained friends until they died, like literally like days within each other in 2013. And that's one thing I can't forget. It's just kind of like, I like the way, and the fact that Tony was one of the exec producers on the movie. So obviously the story was told in the direct way it needed to be told. And I know Peter Farrelly gets a lot of heat for the movie, but I mean, I guess I can say at this point, before I go into anything further, I don't have a problem with it winning picture overall. I mean, there could have been a lot worse choices, but I mean, and it's not necessarily one that I would have necessarily chosen going into it. But now that I've seen it and I have context of everything, I understand why it happened. And I don't think it was just the shock value. I think it's the fact that it's a very well done movie. I liked it a lot. I wasn't sure that was going to be what I thought of the movie, but I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. One of the people that I obviously I completely forgot was in the movie was Linda Cardellini. And I wanted more of her in the movie too. I understand why we didn't, obviously, because she was kind of like at the home life versus the road life, and the home life wasn't really like, it was kind of glossed over most of the time because that wasn't the point of the story. And I like the evolution of the beginning of the movie, where you have the 2 guys that are working on the appliance and they drink the lemonade, and then all of a sudden you see Tony throw the glasses in the trash, to later on when she opens the trash can and Dolores pulls out and puts them back in, all the way to the very end of the movie, where now Tony and Don are like all best friends and everything like that, and he's being invited into Christmas dinner. I love the direction we took on this, and I liked the way that everything flowed with it. The music's phenomenal, absolutely, and the music movie it has to be. Mahershala Ali is just incredible in the movie. I like how deadpan he is, and the fact that that's his character arc in the entire movie. It's like Vigo the whole time was like, you should do this because your people do this, your people do that, and everything like that. And he's like, well, I mean, I'm just a person. That doesn't matter what other people do. I do what I do, and that's it. I don't have to know who Little Richard is. I don't have to know who Aretha Franklin is, but because that's not how Don Shirley operates. he was operating with classical music. He wasn't supposed to play the popular hits and everything, and that's what he wanted to do all along. And then it's like moving from a classical pianist all the way to having to play like pop music and everything. That's kind of a culture shock, to say the least. Especially when we get to the deep south, when we start getting like the racist bigotry that we've seen in some of the other films that we're talking about in this podcast as well. And it's just like, and I kind of like the fact that they used Bobby Kennedy to get him out of it. I thought that was well done when they got caught in the jail and everything. It's like, what's my crime? Your crime is being who you are. Your crime is being out after sunset and things like that. It's just bad how people can be. But the time of the year when it came to the '60s, that's just how things were. And I do love the fact that at the very end, Don was like, he went from just taking it to, you know what, I'm just going to leave this party. I don't care if I'm going to get paid. I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to go to the Orange Bird and I'm going to have a blast. And it works out amazing. Vigo grows as a person as well in this movie. I think like Tony starts the one form of a character and he moves to completely understanding at the end, like when one of the guys at the table kind of shoots on Don a little bit and calls him a name. It's kind of like, yeah, don't call him that. Like, and then he's like, whoa, Tony, what are you saying? Like, is this you? Is this Tony Lip again, or is this like, how has he changed you? And I like the road trip of the movie. I like the fact that he starts out in one way, and by the end, he's completely a different person. And I think that's what Peter Farrelly was trying to do, and he just excelled at it.
How interesting is it that Peter Farrelly did Dumb and Dumber, Kingpin, and Me, Myself, and Irene, and all three of those are also road trip movies, and he somehow didn't deviate away from that when he made his Oscar movie.
No, not at all. It's just like, and it's not the comedy. I mean, there's times in the movie that I laughed out loud. I won't lie about that. But if anything, it's more about having to come to terms with the fact that, again, like he wanted to do this. Like the Nat King Cole story he tells at the end talks about how Nat King Cole was the first to play his music in front of an all-white audience, and then he wanted to do the same thing. But before that, Nat King Cole got beaten up for basically performing his art. He was trying to go against those stereotypes, and he wanted to have a good performance because he didn't care. He just wanted to entertain. And he wasn't just an entertainer. He was trying to entertain people that actually wanted to see him. And the stuff with KFC and everything, I love Vigo like marking out. It's like, when are you ever going to eat Kentucky Fried Chicken in Kentucky? This is incredible. And like the first time he got a drumstick and everything. And I'm sorry, because of Tracy Letts, I can't look at a drumstick without thinking Killer Joe. And that's the problem. Seriously, you just can't. I can't look at chicken anymore because of that. The thing is, I like the movie a lot. And I mean, it gets a lot of heat, but so does my Best Picture win that I called back in the day that I'm never going to let anybody live down. And I've been trying to let happen again throughout several years. And I've always failed miserably. But it's just like Crash. Like, I love Crash. I called Crash when I walked out of the theater, and forever and a day I'll be able to say that. And I'll never be able to say that again. And I've come to terms with that. But at the end of the day, this is a Crash-style win. And after watching the movie, I don't mind Green Book winning at all. It's not the best movie on the list, but it's definitely up there. And I think everybody needs to be commended. Like, I love Vigo in the movie. Vigo is great in it. I mean, I talk about Ali. Ali's great in it as well because he gets to play the deadpan. But you've got slapstick coming from Vigo and the fact that he's like, oh, I do this, I do that, and everything like that. But the great thing is he can throw down when he has to. And I love that, too. Like, when the Copacabana at the beginning of the movie, whenever he basically takes the hat. So later on, he gets to be the savior of everything. It's like, oh, you owe me a favor, things like that. Next thing you know, they're painting houses. The thing about it is, that's for you, Ashley. The thing is, I loved everything about it. And the great thing about it is the fact that Tony don't take crap from anyone. And I like that a lot. And he just goes into the bar. He just walks in when Don goes in, he just wanted to drink. And the next thing you know, it's kind of like, do you have a problem? And he's like, I'm going to let that slide. It's fine. I'm not going to beat you up or anything like that. And next thing you know, he pulls the gun trick from Chase like he's Charlie Sheen. And then it's kind of like, I'm not going to not reference that. And then when he come out, it's funny, at the very end, we finally get the finish to that joke because he pulls out the gun, he shoots it in the air at the orange bird, and Ali goes, wow, you did actually have a gun. I was like, yes.
Yeah, it's interesting that we still say this even though it's a Peter Farrelly movie, but and I don't know if some people thought maybe this was insensitive or what, but given the subject matter and the stars of it, even you could say, were you surprised that it's pretty much a comedy?
It's definitely it's a road trip comedy with like dark undertones. Like obviously like the subject matter, but they play it. They play the racism. They play everything that's going on in the Deep South, but they also give enough comedy to let everybody stay in for it. And the fact that Don Shirley, you can tell midway through the movie, is a deeply depressed individual because he just goes back to his hotel room at the end of the day and he's just chugging that bottle. And everything is just like all the things he's doing. And of course, having to separate the literal green book to get them to stay at the correct places and things like that. It's one of those things. It's like, it talks about how the 60s really were. And I definitely see the correlation in what's going on now, obviously, and everything. And that's one of those things to get away from the politics side of it. But it's Peter Farrelly, of all people, I would never think would have this kind of directing performance. And it just blew my mind when I got finished watching it. And I was like, you know what? I'm okay with this movie being 2 hours and 2 hours, 15 minutes, because I liked the journey that we took with these two characters. I liked how everybody ended up at the end when we went from all the way from throwing a glass away that had touched someone's lips all the way to come in and meet my family. I love how everything flowed with the movie.
And now he's making stuff for Queeby.
You mentioned Crash's picture win and how that's a comparison as far as the surprise factor.
Yeah.
It's been compared to Crash in a different way as well.
I know, and that's what I was referring to. I wasn't talking about the surprise. I was talking about the fact of the sheer hatred of the fact that it won versus something else.
Well, it's not so much that, so much as a lot of people disagree with both those movies' portrayal of racism.
Right.
And it's where do you stand in regards to the frequent argument that people consider it another white savior movie where it's, the black person that's in distress and then the white person comes in and basically saves the day is what the trope usually is. The argument a lot of people had at the time was that it's the other way around and that Tony's the one that needs the saving and Dawn is doing that. Just Dawn also happens to have his own inner problems, like the whole like being in the closet.
Yeah, like when they show up at the YMCA and everything, and he's like, I basically said that I wanted you with me at all times. It's like I thought this was the time that I'd get a pass on that. And that's another thing too. That's a part of the story that just gets glossed over. It's something that happens. It's never referenced again, but it's something that we know in the back of our mind happened. And now it's like it makes more sense, even more so now, why Don is so sheltered. The thought that I get in my head is the reason why his brother disappeared, because his brother disowned him many years ago, and he still can't make that correlation to go back to try to make ends meet at this point, to try to get a common bond again, because even though they're brothers, the fact that he doesn't think a way I do is one of those things that he's never going to be able to get over. And it's just his thought process is the reason why they'll never be brothers like they used to be. And that's the vibe I got immediately when I started hearing that. And it made me feel really sorry for Don, because he was trying the whole time just to be this, because he's like a virtuoso on the piano. No matter what he tries to do, he's fantastic. And the thing is, it's like, and most people don't know who he is. He's just somebody that's performing for all white audiences, and they're like marking out for him, and then they're like kicking him while he's down behind closed doors. It sucks, the fact that in order to get to Carnegie Hall, he had to live above it.
Mm-hmm.
When he should be performing downstairs with everybody else that is going to shock the world. I really liked the movie a lot. I really did, and I can't say enough great things about it. It's easily my biggest surprise of this entire lineup. I mean, I figured Black Klansman would be the one I'd like the most, and it was. And I figured I would like Vice because of its comedic nature and politics. I didn't think The Favorite's number 2 because I didn't think I would like it nearly as much. Roma kind of surprised me a bit because I thought I'd like it more, but I couldn't get it. Black Panther, I liked about as much as I thought I would, but I thought I'd like it a little bit more than I did. But at the end of the day, Green Book is what blew me away the most, is because it's something that I just was completely off my radar, and it's something that even after the picture win, I don't have a problem with it. I actually really like the movie a lot. And yeah, I do agree that Don had to save Tony, and that made the most sense in my head too. It's like they were saving each other. They were each other's guardian angel at the long run.
Of course, this was also plagued with controversy about how the Shirley family was talking about inaccuracies and stuff like that. I don't remember what all it was, but yeah, that apparently that had a lot to do with the tainting of it as well. But yeah, that's
judging it for
in general where true stories are coming from. That generally happens. So
of course, all the time.
I don't want to like.
It's weird to some extent, though, in terms of the Shirley family, because having looked at the Wikipedia sort of stuff about it, it was done in consultation, apparently, with the family and the estate.
That's how they got the footage at the end.
Yeah. But no, I certainly, I enjoyed it. I don't think it was personally worthy of being Best Picture. However, however, considering how Hollywood worked at the time, I can see why it did.
I mean, every year we get that whole Hollywood likes what Hollywood likes. And I mean, if you look at the picture nominees for me, Vice didn't deserve it. Star is Born kind of got moved out of it because it looked like it was going to be a contender for a while and then just kind of disappeared. Roma definitely didn't deserve it. I think The Favorite should have won. I think that Black Klansman should have won. Or I think that Bohemian Rhapsody could have won. Those are the only 3 that I could have seen beating Green Book. And I'm okay with any of those at this point. I really am. If like the fact that Green Book won Best Picture is not like it's not. And again, I always go back to this. I'm always going to go back to this. I love Moonlight. I do. It's a fantastic movie, and I'm always gonna get heat for that. But I mean, at the end of the day, they picked what they picked. You can like what you like. I can do the line right now, and I can do the Wrestling with Regret, and you pick what you pick, and of course there's a rhyme to that, Ashley. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. Is Green Book the best movie of the year? No. Is it deserving Best Picture win? More so than some. Did I like it? Absolutely.
Yeah, you talk about Bohemian Rhapsody in there, and it is like after it got that editing win, it was almost like maybe possible. And it's the thing where it's like everybody loves to bring up and hate on Bohemian Rhapsody's editing win.
Right.
If you're only saying that because you're jumping on the meme bandwagon for the one scene that lasts for a fraction of a second where he sits down and it cuts like 10 times, and that's the only complaint you have in a movie that's over 2 hours, please shut the fuck up. It just accurate.
So that was an interesting podcast.
It was much more organized than I expected it to be, so that's good.
I'm just glad I didn't come off looking like adult during the show, so that's the only thing that matters to me, that I actually was able to talk about these films that I literally have just seen in the last week for the first time. Bry Guy says, full summary for The Favorite, should have won picture. I don't mind its picture win, and Black Klansman is overrated. As a wise man once said, you're entitled to your opinion, even though you're wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say we have our impassioned responses and we tell people they're wrong. We might sometimes tell them they're idiots, but yeah, at the end of the day, we are all strong believers that an opinion is.
Yeah, seriously, like everyone will give me heat for liking what I like. Everyone will give AJ heat for liking what he likes. Everyone will give Ashley heat for liking what he likes. Anybody will give anybody in this chat room heat for liking what they like. But at the end of the day, it's our opinion. And you may agree, you may disagree, but thank you for taking the time to listen to us today. So as we start our 2021, whatever you want to call this. So Cassie says, can't believe you guys are still live. Me neither at this point. I thought this was going to go like 45 minutes at this point. Nope. It's a regular podcast. If you guys and girls out there have any ideas for things you want to see on the network and a podcast, comments. I mean, I have mentioned potentially going into the animated films of this year. The ones I were not able to watch. I didn't see Toy Story. I haven't seen Toy Story 4. Ralph Breaks the Internet. I have not seen anything else.
Into the Spider-Verse.
I have not seen Into the Spider-Verse at all. Given the conversation that we've been having about Spider-Man when it comes to Twitter, it's probably best that I watch the movie, especially with my newfound love for Post Malone. So we're going to probably look into that at some point, maybe. If you have any ideas, stuff you want to see on this network, on these movie podcasts, feel free, leave us a comment if you want to. And you can also tweet at Popcast Network or at Sir Owen Disney or at Ash is my name UK. If you want to leave your ideas that way, you're more than welcome to do so. Leave a comment on this video and we can get back to that. But yeah, I don't know when we're going to be back next, but hopefully sooner rather than later. And if you have any ideas, just send them our way. So thanks everyone for joining us tonight. Ashley, we can find you on social media at Ash is my name UK.
Mm-hmm.
His snack stashes will be coming back.
Yeah.
We've got gaming content that's came in. He's keeping the wrestling alive on this network slowly but surely.
Until this coming video.
And AJ, of course, cannot be found on social media, but he does appreciate your comments. If you leave those, he'll eventually get to one of those. I'm going to answer 3,000 questions in one podcast video. So that'll probably come in the next 5 years, most likely. So, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Sir Owen Disney. Thanks, everyone. Like what you like. And remember, literally, we're all family here on this network and just as a society in general. So thanks for joining us tonight. And actually, in a world where there are a billion podcasts of wrestling or television or movies or anything under the umbrella, thanks tonight for joining us to hear us talk about the 2018 films that were nominated for Best Picture. In the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And until next time, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.
Hot damn. It's the last time I can do the meme. Hot damn.